All right, the last section in this conic section that we are doing is about translating conic sections. Okay, so moving them left, right, up, down, side to side, diagonal, up ways, down ways, sideways, diagonal ways, back in time, forward in time, and all that stuff, like the Wonkavator, from that movie, Willy Wonka, the good one, not that terrible one, the good one. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to be talking about translating them, so kind of moving them left and right and everything. So the H and K, so the H and K are kind of like your starting points. I talked about these briefly, and I gave some examples of this in previous sections. But what we're going to be looking at, this one specifically deals with the starting in a different location than the origin, where you probably have seen a lot of your examples starting from. And so the center, ellipse, and the hyperbolas, they all start at wherever this H and K are. So whatever's being subtracted to the X value. Okay, so the HK is always your center. Okay. So whatever it is, first thing you want to do is identify the center, and then from there you can build on to creating it. Okay, so these are the official formulas for each one. All right, so let's start with this one. So if we look at this, we go, okay, well, what shape is this? What is this going to be? Which conic section is this going to be? And it's going to be a circle. And we can tell it's going to be a circle because, as you see, it doesn't have different numbers underneath the X and Y, and it's still 16. Okay. And so if we were to divide this to get it equal to 1, you would see that both parts would get the same number. So it's a 16. And so first thing we want to do is identify our center. Our center is going to be at 2, comma, since it's a positive, it's going to be negative 3. So we're going to start at 2, negative 3. So 2, negative 3. So there's our center, C. All right. And now we want to identify, okay, what is our radius? Well, it's the square root of 16, which would be 4. So we're going to move 4 left and right. 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. And then all we do is that we just kind of arc it. And there's our circle. Okay. So the first thing you want to do is be able to identify where your center is going to be, and then from there you can build up. So again, whatever's being subtracted to the X and the Y, that is your XY coordinate of your center. Okay. Inside these, that's your H and your K, which is specified as our center. Okay. All right, let's move on to another example. All right, next example. What we have here is that we have x minus 4 squared all over 16 plus y plus 2 squared all over 4 is equal to 1. And so first thing is, okay, what conic section is this? And you should all be jumping up and down going, it's an ellipse, it's an ellipse. Now go, yes, children, because it's correct. It is an ellipse. And so we're going to identify where our center is. And so what's being subtracted to the x? It's a 4. So we know our 4 is going to be our x coordinate. And then we're going to go over to the y value. And what's being subtracted to the y value? Well, we're adding 2, so we change the sign, which would make it a negative 2. And so our center would be at 4, negative 2. And so at 4, negative 2, that's our starting point. And now, when we graph these ellipses, we're going to take the square root of the numbers underneath. Square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. So along the x-axis, we're going to move 4, and along the y-axis, we're going to move 2. Okay, and let's do that. So along the x, we move 4, which puts us back here and puts us up to here. And along the y-axis, we move up and down 2, 2, and 2. And then you just kind of curve it so that you get your basic ellipse shape. Okay. Okay. And so that is our ellipse that we have. Okay. So again, you're looking for your HK. Whatever your HK is your starting point, and then from there, everything else. So now whenever you do your foci and everything, you're basing it off this H and K. Okay. So whatever your foci are, in this case you're going to subtract, so 16 minus 4, gets you 12 square root of 12. You're going to add and subtract square root of 12 to the x value here. So you're going to go 4 plus the square root of 12, which will get you about 7 point something, so it looks like you'll be right around here. And then you're going to subtract, which will get you a little number less than 1. So it looks like it's going to be right around here somewhere. And so your foci would be at 4 minus that, negative 2, and 4 plus root 12, negative 2. And those would be your foci. Okay. And so that's for an ellipse. And what do you think is the last one going to be? Well, you probably think that, well, we've done the other two, so we're probably going to be doing a hyperbola. And you are correct in your assumption. We are going to do an hyperbola. And so again, we're going to identify our HK. What is our HK? In this case, again, we're going to look at, okay, what's the x? So what's being subtracted to the x? Well, it's adding 2, so it's going to be minus 2. And then the y would be minus 6. So we're going to start at negative 2, negative 6. Okay. And now we're going to take the square root of the numbers underneath. Square root of 9 is 3. So we're going to move along the x-axis. 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Because that's underneath the x. And then square root 4 is 2. So we're going to move up and down along the y-axis too. And then we make our box. And now we continue drawing our diagonals, our slant asymptotes, if you want to think of them that way, and we end up getting our basic shape. And now, thinking back on hyperbolas, which you probably just watched that video, does it open up and down or left to right? Well, the y is first, so that means it's going to open up along the y-axis. So up and down. So it looks like that. And now for our foci, again we subtract, or we add them. So 4 plus 9 gets us 13. So we're going to add square root of 13 to our center along the y. So it's going to be negative 2, negative 6 plus root 13. Oh, let's go back. Plus root 13 and negative 2 minus 6 minus root 13. And that's going to give us our approximate foci, which will be here and here. Okay, so that would be our foci. So again, the foci are based off the centers. Okay, so this is your hyperbola. So that was graphing for a circle, ellipse, and hyperbola. Here's your IRAT. What you're going to do with these are pretty simple and pretty straightforward. Identify the centers for each of these. So you should be able to get this done in less than a minute. So find what the center is for each of these. And that is your IRAT for this one. So it's pretty straightforward. I'm not too worried about your graphing because, assuming we've already gone over some of these, you should be able to do the graphing by now. So just identify what the center for each of these would be. Okay. And if you want to be, a good mathematical person, you should be able to identify which conic section each of these are as well. Okay. So that's your translating conic sections. The last section on our conic sections.